Good afternoon, everyone, for another fun-filled installment of the Land Use and Ethics Subcommittee. I will be your chair, Vaughn Stewart, and we have one bill on our agenda. It is House Bill 366. I hope everyone got the message. It looks like everyone got the message successfully. I'm glad that we pushed the meeting back 30 minutes. We will probably have to do that occasionally over the course of the session, just as we try to accommodate the floor schedule lengthening and trying to make sure that everybody can be well fed and well nourished before some of these especially long 1 p.m. bill hearings start popping up. So HB 366 is a straight reintroduction of a bill this committee and the entire House of Delegates passed last session that did not pass in the Senate. It was a bipartisan vote in the full House, and I believe in the committee as well, but it was more or less on party lines. I believe the vote was something like 101 to 34. I think that maybe some of our friends in the minority party might have sort of misread the application possibly of the bill, because I think when you first read it, what it looks like, I think, is that we're newly prohibiting restrictions on people putting solar panels on their roofs. In fact, what the bill does is it changes an existing subjective standard into an objective one. So what I mean is, under current law, there cannot be unreasonable restrictions prohibiting or unreasonable prohibitions regarding the installation of what the law calls solar collector systems on people's property. That's already existing law. The problem with this rule, this whole unreasonable restriction language, is that it's been overly vague for both the homeowners who are trying to put solar panels on their roof and for the HOA or the community association, who in some cases are trying to stop people from putting solar panels on their roof. So this is a rare, sort of kumbaya moment here where these two sides, which are sometimes at odds, have come together, and you can see that there's no unfavorable testimony in the bill file over this bill to make it an objective test so that everyone knows what the rule is and everyone can plan accordingly, whether you love solar panels or whether you hate solar panels. And so if you look at the bill text, the rule is that a prohibition is going to count. The prohibition is only going to be, rather than this whole reasonableness test, is only going to be on solar panels that increase the cost, increase the overall cost of at least 5%, or that reduces the efficiency of the overall sort of energy generation level of the community by 10%. So that just puts some markers here on cost and efficiency that everyone can sort of plan around. So this is not like, I think on the floor, maybe people thought this was like a green energy sort of like hippie commie solar bill. In fact, people that hate solar panels like this bill because it gives them something predictable to plan around. So I hope I made that clear. Ben, let's do our sort of weekly Ben check here to see what I messed up.
That was good. Yeah, that was a great overview. There's letters of support from CAI and Maryland Realtors, no fiscal impact, no amendments.
Yeah, there's no opposition. And in fact, I don't think anyone's even uttered a word of opposition on either the House side or the Senate side. But like I said, there was a roughly partisan vote on the House floor last year for this bill. Yes, Delegate Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so first of all, what happened to it in the Senate?
No vote.
No vote. Okay. And is there new language this year reflecting that agreement you talked about? And if so, what is it? Because all we're seeing is the first paragraph of the first page.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, Ben or whomever can scroll down. I actually don't even know who's controlling this. It's like the robots have taken over. Maybe my aide, Darren. But there is no new language in the bill. This is a straight reintroduction of the bill from last year. Okay. So what I'm describing the bill as being a compromise or being something that all sides have come together, that actually was the case last year too.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's why we passed it.
Okay.
And that's that language right there that I mentioned that has the objective criteria, the 5%, 10%. And my understanding is that they didn't pull those numbers out of nowhere. I think that's how other states have done this.
Okay, and this is specific to common ownership communities, correct?
Right.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Thanks.
Speaking of common ownership communities, he emerges. That's his music. Delegate Holmes, yes.
I'm sorry. I meant to lower my hand because all I was going to say is that the 5% number that you mentioned and the 10% number that you mentioned, that was part of last year's bill as well.
Exactly.
That's all. I meant to lower my hand when we start scrolling down into the text.
You're
That's all.
always welcome. You're always welcome, Chair Holmes. Thank you. Delegate Naraki.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to speak for the entire minority party, but I think maybe some of the concern, and I just kind of wanted to throw this out there, was the section that addresses the board of directors. It's similar to another bill that we've passed where it's the board of directors itself that's empowered to make these decisions and not a vote of the association, whether condo association, HOA, or whatever the case may be. And I think that is what is potentially caused some trepidation for other members. Not the overall spirit and intent of the bill, but that very small group of people potentially making a potentially significant decision for a much larger group of individuals.
Yes. Okay. Well, I appreciate that context. That's helpful. And I also did not mean to sort of try to deduce people's motives either, but I appreciate that. Delegate Holmes.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that Delegate Naraki is correct. It's a small group that's making the decision. However, that small group is elected by the larger group to make the decisions on their behalf.
Yep. That's right. Delegate Holmes and Delegate Naraki, we have entire subcommittee. We have a classic example of some of the debates that confounded our founding fathers, right? Do we have a Republican with a small r sense of government where people elect their leaders and then trust them to do right by the community? Or do we instead allow direct democracy to reign in the form of a referendum? And this bill, House Bill 366, Delegate Naraki is completely correct, stands firmly on the side of the small r Republican government, which we indeed have in the Maryland House of Delegates. We do not have direct democracy, except in rare referendum incidences. The people select us to make decisions, including on bills like House Bill 366. And similarly, this bill has the condo board making the decision on behalf of the residents who elected them. Yes, Delegate Naraki.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question. How would this apply to a property that has ground rent on it? Do we know how that would impact that situation?
This is a great question. And unfortunately, Delegate Holmes and I met for 3 hours last night to discuss it. Delegate Holmes.
I just wanted to make sure Delegate Naraki understood that you and I did, in fact, meet 3 hours last night discussing King Charles I and how King Charles I would, in fact, govern on this particular issue. King Charles I is also in agreement with this bill.
Wow. Okay. Well, we have a regal endorsement. We have no amendments. Are there any other questions on HB 366? I'm willing to entertain a motion.
Move favorable.
Second.
A favorable and a second. Any final comments before the subcommittee votes? Seeing none, all those in favor of House Bill 366 receiving a favorable recommendation from the subcommittee, please raise your hand or otherwise signify your approval.
Aye.
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 All those opposed. Delegate Naraki is opposed. All right, that's it. That is all of our business for today. I will see you all in 20 minutes, and we will very likely again to meet next week as well.